Dr. Bruce McNab here, retired One Health epidemiologist. I have a PhD in epidemiology, a number of publications, and as you can see, I'm a real person. I have a benign cyst on my nose that no talking head would dare sit in front of a camera with, so I'm real. I want to talk to you today about this concept of R, or disease reproductive ratio. You've probably heard about in the news. R is a really nifty statistic, useful thing for epidemiologists to calculate to monitor disease spread through a population. But what I want to do is bring it down to your personal R. It's not just a statistic for the population. You can think of it in terms of your personal R. How many new cases do you produce? How many new cases can you prevent from being created from you? Okay? So what's involved there? Well, first thing is, depending on the disease, in this case COVID-19, but any infectious disease, how many days are you infectious? How many days do you spread the disease? Now there's problems here because you may be shedding the virus before you even know that you have the disease. But biologically what matters is how long you are shedding the virus, say in days. And then the next step is how many contacts you have per day that you're shedding the virus, okay? Is that many, or just a few, okay? You can control that, okay? You can't have a lot of influence over how many days you're infectious, but you can control how many contacts you have per day that you're infectious. Then the next step is given a contact, be it direct, you're standing right in front of someone, or indirect, you're touching a doorknob or something, you contaminate a doorknob, or you don't contaminate a doorknob because you washed your hands. You can influence the probability of transmission per contact you made per day you are infectious. You have control over that, influence over that probability of transmission per contact. Okay, and the next step is the person on the other end receiving the virus you gave them, directly or indirectly, are they susceptible? If they've already had the cold in question and are immune to it, then they can fight it off in a hurry and you don't cause any harm. Or have they been vaccinated against the disease? Now with COVID, the problem is we don't have a lot of so-called herd immunity to it yet, but that will build up over time. So people will build up, people in the population will build up immunity. And when we get a vaccine, it's important to get vaccinated. That is something you can control. You can get vaccinated when we get the vaccine to prevent the probability of the recipient becoming infected because they are immune. So it's really important for you to consider very seriously and prevent as much as possible the number of new cases you create. Because when you create new cases and infect people, then they go on to create new cases exponentially. Somewhere along the line, someone's going to get seriously ill in that chain, requiring really aggressive treatment in an intensive care unit. And if the intensive care unit has run out of doctors and run out of beds and run out of ventilators because they're all used up, that person's going to die, okay? If they're that sick and they don't get intensive care, they're going to die with respect to COVID. And sadly, you were partly responsible for that through negligence of not doing your best to prevent it carrying along that chain and growing exponentially. That's why we're asking you, empowering you to recognize that you can be, you need to be, you have to be an exponential superhero by preventing you from creating as many cases as possible. Get your personal R, the number of new cases you create, down to 0, and that's the only tool we've got. Okay, if everybody does that, the vast majority of people do that, we can slow this thing down, beat it, buy time until we get vaccines for the next rounds, whatever. It's up to you. Please help. Thank you.